Hello and welcome to another episode of Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy. I'm your host, David Butler. The Cubs have gone 4-2 this last week, winning two out of three. They finished the sweep, took 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, and has split with the Reds so far. Today is the rubber match of that game with Ben Brown taking on Nick Lodolo. Lodolo has been a very good pitcher for the Reds this season. He has an ERA of 3.22 and his FIP is at 3.60. His expected ERA does jump up a bit, but he's been far better on the road than at home. At Great American Ballpark, Lodolo has an ERA of 6.33 and his FIP is at 5.98. He does not face lefties very often so far this season, but lefties in a small sample size have hit him very well. I'm guessing a big part of this is because he's really only facing some of the best lefty hitters in the game. The others are being largely platooned. Looking at his career stats, he has been much tougher on lefties than what's indicating for this season. Having said that, though, hopefully this can translate well for Kyle Tucker and PCA. Remember, the best way to help grow the podcast is to listen to every episode, like the episode, share the episode with your friends, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss out on an episode. Let's get into our weekly recaps. On Sunday, Colin Ray threw the ball very well and went 5 1/3 of one-run baseball. The offense came through, but not until after he came out of the game. Pomeranz, man, that guy has been amazing. Finished off the 6th, and the bullpen gave up only 1 run the rest of the way. Julian Merriweather, need I say more, in the top of the 9th. The Cubs scored 5 runs in the 6th through the 8th innings, with PCA and Nico doing most of the damage. The Cubs sweep. On Monday, the Cubs went to Miami and Ben Brown immediately put them in a hole, giving up 2 solo shots to Jesus Sanchez and Agustin Ramirez, back-to-back. He settled down, and in the top of the 4th, with 2 men on, Miguel Amaya hit a 3-run homer to put the Cubs on top, 3-2. However, in the bottom of the 5th, Brown fell apart, giving up 5 hits in the inning and 4 runs. He didn't walk anyone and kept challenging with throwing strikes, which is growth, but I think this is where the 2 pitches comes into play again. As he gets deeper into a game, if his stuff is not as crisp anymore, he doesn't have enough in his arsenal to keep the batters guessing. However, the combination of Theobar, Presley, and Pomeranz kept the Marlins from scoring through the 8th inning. The Cubs managed to score 4 more in the 6th, capping off with Amaya and Matt Shaw both hitting RBI doubles. Ballesteros was thrown out at the plate so he couldn't get his foot down on the plate, sliding in on Amaya's double. This would prove to be a huge play in the game. In the bottom of the 9th, Drew Palencia came out and got the Cubs within 1 strike of the win, but then gave up a hit to Derek Hill on a ball that just got way too much of the plate. Then after walking the next batter, he gave up a triple to Jesus Sanchez, who had an incredible game. 2-run score, and the Cubs lose 7-8. Palencia, it should be noted, pitched Friday and Saturday and had to warm up and throw quite a few warm-up pitches Sunday night because Porter Hodge, it turns out, was dealing with a minor oblique injury, and Julian Merriweather had found himself in trouble on Sunday. The dude was tired, and the Cubs should have had someone else available at that time if Hodge wasn't able to go. That's a whole lot to ask of anybody, including Daniel Palencia, in my opinion. On Tuesday, Jameson Taillon, who had been getting slammed for his recent performances, and rightfully so, silenced all of us for the time being and threw 7 innings, allowing 4 hits, had 3 walks, and only 1 run. This was much needed for a bullpen that had been used a whole lot lately. Chris Flexen came in and shut it down in the 8th and 9th as the Cubs cruised to a 14-1 win. The offense was led by Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, and Justin Turner, all with 3 hits each. Matt Shaw, Carson Kelly, Dansby Swanson, and PCA all contributed 2 more hits as well. In fact, every Cubs starter had at least 1 hit, as the Cubs totaled 21. Almost all the damage came after the 5th inning, though, as Ryan Weathers kept them to 1 run off 5 hits before he came out of the game. That dude is impressive. Quite frankly, side note, the Cubs should entertain trying to go get him. I don't know what it would cost, but man, that would be nice. On Thursday, we had an off day, and then on Friday, we traveled to Cincinnati. Friday night's game could not have started any worse than it did. I was there in Cincinnati with my buddy TJ, who is a Reds fan. I know. He doesn't choose his baseball teams very well, but he's a pretty good dude. Anyways, we were sitting down the first base line and watched the ground rule double that TJ Friedel hit as that poor ball boy scooped it up. I was hoping it was a good omen, but then Santiago Espinal gets a dribbler that Matthew Boyd tried to scoop and toss to Michael Busch and went over his head at first base. This allowed Espinal to get second and TJ Friedel, who's fast as hell, to score. Anyway, the first 5 batters all get a hit, capped off by Spencer Steele's double, but somehow the Reds only scored 3 runs in the bottom of the first. Watching all of that in the field of the game, Matthew Boyd limiting the Reds to only 3 runs there was quite impressive in my humble opinion. The Reds scored a run again in the third after Austin Hayes hit a triple off the wall. Boyd, who went 4 innings, did a good job of settling down and at least keeping the Cubs in the game, even though he just did not have his best stuff. PCA hit a 2-run homer in the fourth, and I think it was at that point I told my buddy that the Cubs were going to come back and win this, but it might have been earlier in the game. However, in the bottom of the fifth, for some reason, Julian Merriweather came out and gave up 2 runs before Chris Flexen could come out and stop the bleeding for him. Quite frankly, I don't understand why Flexen didn't come out and start that inning. After that, the bullpen does exactly what the pen has been doing, minus Julian Merriweather. I hate to keep calling out the guy, but it is what it is, and shuts down the Reds for the rest of the game. Seriously, the Reds had 13 hits in the game, and 11 of them were in the first 5 innings. Only 2 more the rest of the game. In the meantime, though, the Cubs decided to blow up for 11 runs in the 7th through 9th innings and steal the game away from the Reds. Kyle Tucker drove in 2 runs with a single scoring Horner and Shaw in the 7th, and then PCA put the Cubs up for good with a grand slam to hit the foul pole and barely stayed fair, but fair it was. The feeling was absolutely electric. My nephew and sister were also at the game, and I'm so glad that they were, as it was a memorable one for sure. Cubs win, and the final was 13-8. On a side note, I'm also now 3-0 when I go to games. That's pretty fantastic. On Saturday, Colin Ray gave up 6 runs through the first 5 innings in his innings, and the offense just couldn't battle back enough in this game. Ray did have 8 strikeouts, but he also walked 3 batters and gave up 7 hits in his 5 innings of work. Justin Turner hit his first homer as a Cub in the top of the 3rd, but that was the only run the Cubs could muster until, again, the 7th inning. The Cubs did tack on a run in each of the last 3 innings, but the game ends 4-6 in the favor of the Reds. The biggest thing that happened here was an oblique injury that Miguel Amaya suffered. Previews for this week. The Colorado Rockies come to town as the worst team in baseball, and quite frankly, it's not even close. As a team, they score an average of 3.23 runs per game, but on the road it's even worse, at 2.44 runs per game. It's not even 2.5 runs a game. Dang. Conversely, they also give up an ERA of 5.60, but that gets slightly better on the road at 5.00. That's the second worst in baseball, only to the Marlins while on the road. Long story short, hopefully the Cubs do not look past this team, because anything short of a sweep while at home this week would be a disappointment. Then the Cubs will play the Cincinnati Reds again after an off day on Thursday. The team is still really good pitching even when on the road, the Reds that is. They have an ERA of 3.58 away from Cincinnati. Where they are different is that their offense seems to be almost a half run better per game on the road. The record is slightly worse on the road, though, at 12-14. To be truthful, there's really no reason that the Cubs shouldn't win 2 out of 3 against the Reds either. My overall prediction for this next week will be 5-1, at worst 4-2. But I do think that would be slightly disappointing. The Rockies are that bad. If they somehow go 3-3 here, that would be a really disappointing week and would absolutely suck. Some news and notes. There's quite a few. Matt Shaw was recalled last Monday after really doing quite well the previous 2 weeks at Iowa. Unfortunately, this meant someone had to be moved off the roster and Nicky Lopez was DFA'd again. Since coming back up, Matt has absolutely raked. He's hitting .400 with 5 doubles, 3 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. He has an OPS of 1.079. A small sample size for sure, but if he can just have an OPS of 750 or better and play the defense he has, he will finally solidify the weakest part of our lineup for sure. On Tuesday, Ian Happ came off the IL, but Porter Hodge was put on the IL. Moises Ballesteros was sent back down, and Ethan Roberts was recalled in the corresponding moves. Friday, we had Ryan Brashear activated off the IL as Ethan Roberts was sent back down. And on Saturday, after giving up more runs than Friday, Julian Merriweather was DFA'd, and the Cubs select the contractor Brooks Kriske from Iowa. On Sunday, the Cubs have selected the contractor Reese McGuire from Iowa, who was just recently signed earlier this week. Unfortunately, this was done because of Miguel Amaya's oblique injury. I expect the corresponding move to be that Amaya event goes on the IL. That just hadn't been announced yet when I was doing this. There seems to be so many oblique injuries. I'm not sure if it's more than normal, but it sure seems like it. Losing Amaya hurts as the combo of him and Kelly have been amazing. Hopefully Kelly can keep up what he's done in Amaya's absence with McGuire coming up. I think Kelly will get the bulk of the work. That said, today he has an illness and McGuire will be starting. We're going to talk about some relievers this week. I did the starters last week. I'm going to start with Julian Merriweather and a little bit about why he's been DFA'd. He started out so well this season. In his first 10 appearances, he went 9 1/3 innings, only gave up a run once. Was 2 runs total against Texas on April 8th. He also only walked 1 batter and struck out 10 in that span. Since April 27th, though, he has walked 7 batters, another one intentionally, while striking out only 4 in 8 1/3 innings and 10 more appearances. I was impressed with him early, but DFAing him was the right move. Hopefully he can find it again and get on somewhere else. He's just too good, but at this point, it just wasn't going to happen here. Porter Hodge, he's had 2 bad games that make his ERA stand out at 5.12, but his expected ERA is a respectable 3.77. Having said that, hopefully coming back healthy will get him crisper. His K percentage and walk percentage are both going the wrong way from last year. We need a healthy Hodge to anchor that bullpen later on this season. Chris Flexen, in 6 games and 10 1/3 innings, Flexen has done everything asked of him. He has not allowed a run and has an expected ERA of 3.42. He can give us some innings when needed, and he can do like he did the other night, shutting down the 14-1 drubbing and preserving the rest of the bullpen. He is basically in the spot that Colin Ray was expected to fill originally and doing a fine job of it. Brad Keller has been nothing short of brilliant. His K percentage is the highest it's ever been at 25.5%, while his walk rate, although not the lowest it's been, is still solid at 8.2%. He has an ERA of 2.59 with an expected ERA of 2.26. Quite frankly, he should be the most trusted reliever we have, even when Porter Hodge comes back right now. Daniel Palencia, simply put, Palencia has far exceeded what he's done in the past, and I think what his expectations were. His ERA is a sparkling 2.16, and before the blown save that he had on that 4th day in a row, his ERA was 1.20. His expected ERA is 3.85, and he has a FIP of 3.2. This shows that maybe he's gotten some luck too, but his K percentage is solid and his walk rate is the lowest of his career. Would we like to see it drop even more? Absolutely, but I think a huge part of what makes him effective is that he has a bit of wildness to him, and you pair that with his 100-mile-per-hour fastball, and that's intimidating to hitters. He has a barrel rate of 2.4%. He is only improving as well. Drew Pomeranz at 12 games, 11-1 in the third innings. He has 100% left on base, 0 ERA, a 2.28 FIP. The dude has only allowed 4 hits and 3 walks as well. He has a 7.1% walk rate and a 28.6% K rate. Simply put, Hoyer did an amazing job of finding this guy at a critical time for the season and for the team. I was not I thought, hey, this is just kind of run of the mill. We're trying to throw darts, and maybe we were throwing darts, but man, it was a bullseye. Even if Pomeranz were to fall apart at this point, what he's done so far has been a huge key to what the team has done. Please, I'm not knocking on wood. I don't want Pomeranz to fall apart at all. I think that he could continue this, but I'm just saying, he's been a huge impact to the team in the bullpen. Ryan Presley, since his May 6th implosion debacle, has quietly gone 6 appearances, 5 1/3 innings, without giving up another run. He's only got 1 walk in that time, but he has given up 5 hits as well. Never more than 1 per outing, though. His K rate is way down, and his walk rate is the highest it's ever been. I think he's been solid, but I also believe that there's plenty to be concerned about here as well. His hard hit rate, though, is down from last year. I don't believe he's closer material anymore, but I do think he's earned the right to prove he can still be an integral part of the bullpen. Caleb Theobar has been amazing this season. Probably the most unsung hero, I think, of the team. Especially over the past month. He's done it so quietly as well. He has an ERA of 2.55 with an expected ERA of 2.07 and a FIP of 2.62. Although his walk rate is probably a little higher than we'd like, he's been fantastic, especially against lefties. They are hitting .074 off of him. He's allowed 2 hits against lefties. And last, I want to talk about Luke Little a little bit. Since Little had his cup of coffee in a brief stint in the majors this year, on April 16th, where he walked everybody in the world that day, he has had 8 appearances and 13 1/3 innings pitched. In that span, he has given up 0 runs, walked only 2 batters, given up 4 hits, and struck out 17 batters. I get that there's already 2 lefties in the pen right now, but doesn't this all sound a whole lot better than what the Ethan Robertses, Brooks Kriske, or Nate Pearsons of the world can provide right now? I mean, he's been flat out dominant. In fact, the only 2 bad outings he's had all year came in back-to-back outings. Once was that game in Chicago, and one in Iowa that was right before he came up. Pitchers are allowed to have bad moments. It's how they bounce back that matters. He needs to be given a chance to bounce back well. I believe if given the chance, he's ready to prove he can complete this bullpen. We need someone else who can consistently miss bats. Don't forget to join our Facebook group at Clark and Addison, Born Into the Ivy. Leave some posts or comments in there about what you'd like to hear and what you thought about today's episode. However you subscribe to your podcast, please like and subscribe to Clark and Addison, Born Into the Ivy, so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Also, if you feel so inclined, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and leave me some comments. If you are enjoying this podcast, make sure to tell and share it with your friends who might be a Cubs or baseball fan. Have a great day, and let's go Cubs. Paisley, send them home.
Go Cubs, go!
Living on the water, counting days since last summer.